Okay, I've been tagged in a question about how to do a power steering flush on the V6 Delica. Now there's a little bit of confusion about a particular line in the service manual that states disconnect the high tension wire. So I'm going to show you what it is, how to take it out, and why we need to take it off with this V6 I just happen to have in the shop right now. So let's go under the hood and take a look. Okay, so we're under the hood, and the manual basically wants us to suck out all of the fluid from the reservoir here. The problem is, all the fluid doesn't reside in the reservoir. There's going to be some in the pump, some in the lines, and obviously some in the power steering rack. Now, from what I gather, the manual, they don't actually want the engine running when we do the job. They want us to suck out the fluid here, and then crank the engine over with the starter, so this slowly spins the pump and moves the rest of the fluid up into the reservoir. In order to do that, though, we need to disable the engine from actually being able to start. Now, on the diesel, that's a very easy job. All we need to do is pull a single wire off of the fuel solenoid. But on the V6, it's a little bit more complicated because we've got spark, we've got fuel. So you could go and pull off one of these wires here off of the ignition coils. The problem with that is the ignition coils are still being charged up and they need to discharge. Now, if we pull these wires off, that power can no longer go through the wire and to the spark plug. It means it's got to go somewhere. So it's just going to jump from the coil to whatever is closest. And that's not good because we could end up with a carbon trace and that could lead us to a misfire or other problems down the road. So what we need to do is we need to disable all of these coils completely so they can't charge up and discharge. And that means we need to disconnect basically these three wires back here. But disconnecting them from here is not ideal. We don't really want to break them off because there's an easier way. So if we follow those wires along here, we'll see they come over to this connector right here with the red on the top. Now to disconnect that thing, you can't just pull it. Let's see if I can get the light here. So if you just pull it, you'll break it off. You see there's actually a wire around there. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed here. What we need to do is get a screwdriver in there and pry that wire back. All right. Now it will fall off if you're not careful. So I would actually suggest using a pair of pliers and taking it out all the way so you don't drop it. But I don't have any on hand with me, so we're just going to do it this way. Once that's off, you'll notice we got three wires, 1, 2, 3, which corresponds to our 1, 2, 3 wires to our coil pack here. So now that that's off, these are not going to charge up. You can sit there and crank the engine as much as you want, and it's not going to have any spark. It's just going to rotate here. Once you're done, we need to put it back in. Now the easiest way to do that is to just depress this clip back in here again, and you'll see there's a little locking tab there. Make sure that it's seated properly. I might have to do this without the camera in hand because you can see that this angles inwards. You need to make sure that that seats on the outside like this. I'm just going to put the camera down for a second, seat that, and then we'll get this back installed. All right, so I've got that seated all the way in there now. You can see it's on the, or seated underneath the clip. Both wires are in place. So now all we're going to do is place it back on, and you should hear a nice click. And that's it. Everything's reinstalled, and you're good to go.